Okay, we are recording. Good morning. I am Daryl Eatman, Chief Examiner and the host for today's Civil Service Commission meeting. Leanne Guzman, Project Coordinator, is our co-host. Please be aware if you are disconnected during the meeting, please click on your email or calendar invite to join the meeting again. Please keep yourself on mute until you are called upon. If you are using a phone, use *6 to mute or unmute yourself. Once the Civil Service Commission has addressed your agenda item, you may leave the meeting. We have a quorum of our commission members. At this time, I give the meeting to Pastor Gregory Jordan.
Good morning. Moving with our first item on the agenda, which is our roll call. Commission members: Michael Fleckinger.
Present.
India Pierce Lee, Secretary. Cyrus L. Patton.
Present.
And Gregory Jordan is present. Counsel, Patricia Aston, Assistant Director of Law.
Present.
Office of the Civil Service Commission Staff, Rashawn Long, Executive Director.
Present.
Leanne Guzman, Assistant Executive Director.
Present.
Daryl Eatman, Civil Service Examiner 4.
Present.
Lila Abrams Fitzpatrick, Business and Operations Manager. Court reporter. Is our court reporter present? Do we have a court reporter today?
I believe Steve is present. Yes,
All right.
he is.
All right, thank you. Agenda guest, Tiffany Fishbach, Assistant Director of Law. Joseph Conyers, President, Association of the Cleveland Firefighters, Local 93.
Present.
William Mashesky, Sergeant, Division of Police Personnel Unit.
Present.
Gerald Shipp, Sergeant, Division of Police Personnel Unit.
I'm here by myself, Reverend.
Thank you. Alex Johnson, NTN Representative.
Present.
Josie Herman, NTN Representative. Orlando Weaver, Commissioner, Division of EMS.
Present.
Bruce Campbell, Manager, Division of Animal Control.
Present.
Kalina Ratkin, Representative Request. I'm sorry, reinstatement request. Please forgive me. I'm working with my phone today.
Present.
Eric Thompson, reinstatement request.
He will not.
So
LaDonna,
Leanne, I'm sorry, Reverend, I don't mean to interrupt, but do I need to be on this since
No.
he's not on the agenda?
Nope,
Okay, so
you're
I'm gonna
okay.
I'm gonna excuse myself. Have a good day, everybody.
Okay.
all right, LaDonna Miller, reinstatement request. Matthew Locklear, Firefighter, Division of Fire. Charles Kelly, Firefighter, Division of Fire. John Ruddy, Firefighter, Division of Fire.
Present.
Richard Bowman, Firefighter, Division of Fire.
Present.
Patrick Corrigan, Firefighter, Division of Fire.
Present. Good morning.
Thank you. Good morning to you. Andrew Gorski, Firefighter, Division of Fire.
Present.
Francis Lally, Firefighter, Division of Fire.
Present.
Please help me with this last name, Pete Kowalski. Am I close?
He will not be present today.
Thank you. David Hubbard, Firefighter, Division of Fire. Connor Leahy, firefighter, Division of Fire. Benjamin Stick, firefighter, Division of Fire.
Present.
Thank you, sir. Moving on to item 2 on our agenda, accepting of today's agenda.
Motion to approve Flickinger.
Secondly.
Patton.
It's been moved. Okay, it's been moved and seconded to accept today's agenda. All in favor?
Yeah. Flickinger, aye.
Patton, aye.
Jordan, aye. The motion was approved. Item 3, approval of the minutes from the June 28th, 2024 Civil Service Commission meeting.
Motion to approve Flickinger. Secondly.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the minutes. All in favor?
Lee, aye. Flickinger, aye.
Patton, aye.
Jordan, aye. That motion was approved. Item 4, approval of the routine matters.
Motion to approve Flickinger.
Second, Patton.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the routine matters. All in favor?
Lee, aye. Flickinger, aye.
Patton, aye.
Jordan, aye. Item 5, consideration of the request from Kalina Rankin to be reinstated back to the eligible list for the classification of emergency medical technician, Department of Public Safety, Division of EMS. Is Ms. Rankin present? Her or her representative?
Yes.
Thank you. And do we have someone here from EMS or from Department of Public Safety?
Yes.
May I ask you, is there any opposition to her reinstatement?
Well, after reviewing her files, there is opposition. She
All
was
right.
in step 4 of sick abuse.
Okay, well, I just needed a yes or no right there. We're going to
No.
move forward then.
I'm sorry.
So there is opposition to her coming back. Is that correct?
Yes.
All right, we're going to move forward and with this reinstatement request. And we'll go in this matter. Ms. Rankin, you will go first, and you will explain why you feel like you should be reinstated. You have a total of 10 minutes. You can do 10 minutes straight if you choose, or you can make your statement and wait for a reply. But both sides have a total of 10 minutes. I do have my stopwatch. So, Ms. Rankin, you have the floor.
The reason why I was having issues is because I was homeless and I lost my car. So there was issues with me going back and forth to work. I was getting lifts every day. And when I didn't have the money, I would have to call off because I didn't have a way to get there. But now I'm more stable. I have a car, I have a house, and I'm in a better position. And I mean, that's pretty much all I have to say.
Thank you, ma'am. Whoever's speaking for the city, it's your turn.
Yes. We oppose the reinstatement due to her previous attendance being employed with the division. As I mentioned earlier, she was in step 4 of sick abuse, and her resignation letter stated that she was accepting another position elsewhere.
Thank you. May I ask you, just for clarification for my sake, what is step 4 in the sick abuse process? I mean, in the absentee process?
The city has a 7-step sick abuse policy, and step 7 is termination. And during a short period of time, Ms. Rankin was employed with the division, she had proceeded into step 4 of the sick abuse policy. So 3 steps away from termination.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Rankin, do you have anything to add?
I didn't accept another position elsewhere. I was also hurt at the time, and what I was making prior to getting on the to going out onto the streets, that it wasn't enough for me to make ends meet. Um, it was were a lot of factors involved, and I just didn't have the financially, I wasn't stable enough to be able to keep the job, and I just couldn't do what I had to do to live, and I have 4 kids, so I didn't have a choice at the time.
Thank you. Are there any questions from the commission members?
I have 2 questions. One for the city. What was the duration of her time that she was employed with the city when she got the 4 steps into the sick leave abuse policy?
It was roughly 18 months.
Okay. And for Ms. Rankin, how was your communication with your employer in terms of the reason for why you would be late or why you wouldn't be able to make it to work? How did you communicate that?
I let them know the issues that I was having, and I would call in the mornings and see if, like, where I would be at, to see if I had enough money to be able to get a Lyft or an Uber to the different places where I would be and where I would actually find out, because you only have like an hour. You have up to an hour to tell. They have up to an hour to tell me exactly like what station I'm going to. So I would have to see if I had enough money to get to whatever place it was that I had to go that day. And I would call them and let them know, and they also knew what was going on in my circumstances and where I was, and I didn't even know where I would be living or sleeping that day. So, well, that night. So that's pretty much it. But I did let them know what was going on and my issues and my situation.
Thank you, Ms. Rankin. Are there any other questions from the commission members? Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Do I have a motion?
Go ahead.
Go ahead, sir. You broke up. Could you say that again?
Motion to deny the request.
Secondly.
It's been moved and seconded to deny the request. All in favor?
Lee, aye.
Flickinger, aye.
Patton, aye.
Jordan, aye. That request was denied. Item 6, consideration of the request from Eric Thomas to reinstate back into the Division of Public Safety, Division of Police as a patrol officer. Is Mr. Thompson here?
Good morning, Pastor Jordan. This is Leanne Guzman. Mr. Thompson withdrew his request late yesterday.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Guzman. Moving on to item 7, consideration of the request from LaDonna Miller to be reinstated back to the eligible list for the classification of animal care worker, Division of Public Safety, Division of Animal Control. Is Ms. Miller here?
Yes, I am.
Good morning, and we have a representative from the city.
Yes, sir.
May I ask, before we move forward, is there any opposition to her being reinstated?
No, sir.
With that, can I have a motion from the committee?
Motion to approve the request. Flickinger.
Second, Patton.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the request. All in favor?
Lee, aye.
Flickinger, aye.
Patton, aye.
Jordan, aye. That request was approved.
Thank you.
Okay, thank the committee. Thank you.
All right. Does anyone from the Civil Service Office want to tell Ms. Miller anything?
Yes, this is Leanne Guzman. Ms. Miller, we will be in contact with the next steps of the process. So you can go ahead and log off and we will be in contact with you.
Okay, I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Item 8, consideration of the request from the Office of Civil Service to amend the classification of Project Manager 1.
Good morning, everyone. The classification of Project Manager 1 currently exists. We're going to amend the title to just reflect Project Manager. This classification historically only referenced information technology, IT. So we are adding additional language, a separate description and minimum requirements for general project manager so that the position can be used citywide since other city departments would like to use it. So it is just not department specific, everyone can use it. So this language will be added in addition to the current description and requirements for IT.
Motion to approve, Flickinger.
Lee.
It's been moved and seconded to approve. All in favor?
Lee, I.
Flickinger, aye.
Pat and I.
Jordan, aye. That motion was approved. We have some other appeals. Who's our legal representation today?
This is Patty. It's me today.
Okay. Because I do know, I just wanted, before we begin this section, I wanted to make sure on the ones, we had some ones that were coming back from last meeting. Are they designated on that particular item, or are they all weaved in together?
So that I would defer to Leanne on. I did email the commission members yesterday some legal matters. I hopefully received that there's the general attachments. But as to the specifics of how they are grouped together, I will let Leanne or the commission state how that is on the agenda.
Hi, Pastor. This is Leanne. I apologize. They are weaved in together.
Okay, so as we move through, when I get to those, could you please let me know so that we can address the issue that was carried over from last meeting?
Yes, sir. I can tell you right off the bat, number 9 and 10 are brand new.
Okay, perfect. All right, let's move to item 9, consideration of the request from Connor Leahy to appeal the scores and the promotional examination given to the Division of Fire. Is Mr. Leahy here? Does he have a representative here? All right, we'll continue on with item 10, consideration of the request from Benjamin Strick to appeal the scores and promotional examination given to the Division of Fire. Is Mr. Strick there? Right, moving on to item 11, consideration of the request from Charles Kelly to appeal the scores of the promotional examination given to the Division of Fire. Is Mr. Kelly here?
I'm here. I did receive the proper paperwork from Civil Service, so I am no longer appealing my scores.
Thank you, Mr. Kelly. All right, moving on to item 12, consideration of the request from David Hubbard to appeal the scores of the promotional examination given to the Division of Fire. Is Mr. Hubbard here? All right, moving on, item 13.
Excuse me, sir.
Mr. Yes.
I wasn't able to get the mute button to stay off.
Okay. Oh, no problem. Is this Mr. Hubbard?
No, this is Ben Strick.
This is item 10.
Okay, we're going back to item 10. All right, Mr. Strick, are you going to speak for yourself or do you have representation that's speaking?
No, I'll speak for myself.
All right, I just want to go over the rules on the appeals. You have 10 minutes total that you can present your your argument, and the city also has 10 minutes, and we'll be timing it. So, Mr. Strick, you have the floor.
Okay, so when I went down to review the results of the oral portion of the test, I saw that there was an error in the situational portion, where originally I was scored at a 74.22. With the scores that were on the sheet from the proctors, my score should have been an 80.4. And then for the tactical, the score change is slight. It's only a few tenths of a point. The correct score should be a 61.99. But those score changes made a significant difference in where I placed on the promotional list. So I'm just asking that they be reevaluated and corrected to have my proper place on the promotional list. And that's all I have.
Thank you, sir. So who's speaking on behalf of the city?
Alex, were you able to review Mr. Strick?
Yes, we took the time to review his rating forms, and we all the entries were correct, and we've reviewed the calculations, and all of them were correct. The differences that you are stating are due to the standardization of scores, and we just refer you to the documents that were provided to civil service, and I believe to all the candidates, that explain the standardization process.
Very well.
Thank you, sir. Anything
Thank
further?
you for your time.
Anything
No, that's
further?
it.
Okay.
No, thank you for
Do I
your
have a
time.
motion from the commission?
Motion to deny the request from Mr. Strict. Patton.
Second, Flickinger.
It's been moved and seconded to deny the request. All in favor?
Lee, aye.
Flickinger, aye.
Patton, aye.
Jordan, aye. That motion, that request was denied. Moving back to our roll call, I believe, did I call Michael Locklear? That's item 13.
You were on Hubbard, Pastor. I don't think he answered if he was here or not.
Yeah, I know I went to Mr. Hubbard. There was no response. I'll do it again. Is David Hubbard here or his representation? All right, we're going to move on to item 13. The consideration of the request from Matthew Locklear to appeal the scores of the promotional examination given to the Division of Fire. Is Mr. Locklear present? Or does he have representation here?
No, he was one of the ones that was heard at the last meeting.
Okay, and so he's not here today. So Patricia, since he was not here today and this was a carryover from last meeting, should we vote or do we continue to table?
You can go towards the end, and then I would recommend at the very end, in case anyone's having technical difficulties, like you did similarly last time, you can do a motion to deny for failing to prosecute their appeals or in appearing before this commission. And that way you give them until the end of the commission meeting to log on.
Thank you. I appreciate that. All right. Item 14, consideration of the request from John Ruddy to appeal the scores of the promotional examination given to the Division of Fire. Is Mr. Ruddy present?
Yes.
Hello, Mr. Ruddy. How are you today?
I'm good. How are you?
Great. Mr. Ruddy, just to review the rules, you have 10 minutes total to present your case. If you want to use the whole 10 minutes at once, you can, or you can break it up so that you can respond to the city. But at this time, you have the floor.
Okay. This is a continuation from the previous meeting. So I just want to again verify that you do have my graded essay in your possession, NTN that's directed to. It has not been destroyed. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, so Civil Service Rule 4.50 states that any applicant shall have the right to review his or her own graded examination papers and to submit to written requests for correction of clarity. It goes on. So basically, those papers, am I going to provide that opportunity?
Patricia, could you respond on the rule?
Thank you, Pastor Jordan. Last meeting, it was determined and stated before the commission that it was determined that that was not an examination paper. I understand the argument, but that was what was stated to the commission at that time. So they were not provided back to the city, and they were not provided at the for the examining candidates to hear or to go through. What was provided back to the city was what was provided to the candidates.
Okay. How is that not a examination paper?
That was discussed at the last time and stated. That's all I have to say on it. I understand your argument, but that was
okay. What was said at the last meeting was that basically the multiple choice test was, I believe, a written exam, and ours was a writing exercise. Something to that nature. Civil Service Rule 4.20-A, written examinations. A written examination may be either computerized or traditional pencil paper and may include all or part of the following: an objective type exam designed to test the applicant's familiarity with information and material which could reasonably be expected of applicants for the position. Standard intelligence tests, standard aptitude tests, that would be multiple choice, and an essay on one or more subjects dealing with education. That's your rule 4.2.
That is the city's
So
commission,
essay is a
Civil
written
Service Commission.
examination.
So you are asking the commission to have that paper. Isn't that what you're asking? To have that back?
I want to see my written essay.
So that's Pastor Jordan, I'm hearing that's what he's asking for this from this commission. If I'm hearing correct, I don't want to put words in your mouth, Mr. Ruddy, but I'm hearing you state to the commission that you would like that provided to. So the commission will rule on that. We'll decide that issue.
Okay.
Anything further? Go ahead.
I mean, if you have everything from my last meeting, I guess my only issue now is like civil service. I'm sure you have a mission statement, and in there, I would think the words ensuring fairness, providing civil service protection. And I think that is, you're providing that to me, to us who are appealing. Anytime we ask Mr. Johnson from NTN a question, or it's, no, we did it, we checked it, we didn't make any mistakes, you take that as gospel. It feels like, I don't know. I feel civil service should be providing us protection. You should be asking NTN these questions as well, ensuring that we were treated fairly and that this test was legitimate. I don't feel that that's what's happening here. That's just my opinion. And I know there's going to be a motion, and all these things that are brought up. Who's making the decision to, if in fact this is denied, which they all have been so far, that you're going to ignore Civil Service Rule 4.50 and 4.20. We brought up the experience points. Someone else will be addressing that later, I'm sure. I don't want to waste time and do it twice. I mean, these things are brought up and nothing's discussed. It's just, we're bringing up points to you, and these are just getting denied without any discussion on your part. I don't understand that. So whose decision is it going to be to ignore these civil service rules, 4.5 and 4.20, if in fact I'm denied? Everybody, or is it one person? Is it Mr. Flickinger, who's the first one in to deny these all the time?
Pastor Jordan,
we don't
I
have
feel
to
the
be
need to
personal.
jump in on a fundamental fairness issue. The commission acts as a body. No one commissioner works on their own. This commission works as a body that is clear time and memoriam law. The boards and commissions act collectively. And no one's saying that you should not raise any and all arguments to this commission. They want to hear. That is part of your protection. That is the fundamental fairness. So if you have the issue, or you raised, I believe you're coming back because you raised the issue of the experience, that will be addressed in yours as well, which that was provided to everybody. And it was not in the bulletin. So that was given to everybody. 4.40D was not an applicable rule for anybody in any of the testings. So but I want to make clear that there should not be any attack of any one commissioner. This commission acts as a body. Thank you.
I didn't intend that to be an attack on any individual. My point is, there's no discussion that goes on. I mean, we bring these points up, there's no discussion, and it's denied. So I guess that's all I have. Last meeting, there was no determination on my request to see the written essay per 4.50 and 4.2. So I guess that's it for me.
I just want to make sure that you did hear the response for the rules that you brought up from the attorney, Ashton. So we have to operate within the law also. And with that, if there anything further from the city on this matter.
This is Patty, just as a not necessarily from the city, but it appears one of his requests in his presentation to the commission is that the commission decide if he can get the written exam back from NTN. So just so that is brought to the commission. I don't want to misstate your request, Mr. Ruddy, but that's what I'm hearing. In addition to your other.
Is.
Okay, thank you.
I would like to see that written essay and the graded written essay.
Thank you, sir. Do I have a motion from the commission?
I have a question.
Go ahead, sir.
And I know we talked about this, but if someone from the city or legal just help me out related to the civil service rules and what they state and a written essay. So what is that? Is that covered by those rules? Or is that not a test document that, like a multiple choice or a sheet or whatever that would be provided? Someone's got to clarify that so that I understand that more. I'm confused.
Thank you, Mr. Flickinger. I will take the lead. This is Patty again. And then if, I don't know if Rashawn or Alex needs to weigh in, but under the 4.50 was determined previously that because the essay was reviewed and everything was put on those sheets that were provided, it was not considered a quote unquote graded exam paper. However, Mr. Ruddy is arguing that it should be included under 4.20, and that is what he is asking this commission to decide at this time. But at the time of the grading and the scoring, it was determined that that those essays were not considered a graded examination paper. And that is what he is specifically asking this commission to decide for him in addition to his other arguments.
Okay.
Question for Alex from NTN. What was the written essay designed to measure?
You'll need to give me a minute here to go pull up it. They're on the rating forms that were turned over.
I have it right here.
Okay.
The initial handout, it stated the assessors will grade the exercise based on several areas, including but not limited to content, organization, grammar, spelling, and professionalism. What it was actually graded on when we saw our test scores was leadership qualities, analysis and planning, customer and public relations, and written communication. That was an issue that was brought up the last meeting, that what we were told we were going to get graded on was not what we got graded on.
Alex, would you like to speak to that, please?
Yeah, I don't know that we would agree with that. Obviously, in those handouts, you're being given a broad spectrum of what is going to be covered. Under the content, those dimensions are what would fall under the content of the exam or of that specific exercise. And so there's nothing that is misleading or that would fall outside of the categories.
Okay. Well, I have a question. Then why can't the language be the same on both documents to avoid these issues?
Well, many times a candidate handout is put together in advance of the exercises being finalized, and that just has to do with the nature of the development process. Sometimes it goes quickly and sometimes it takes time. And so that is pretty standard language that is put out to many of our clients. So that is why.
Follow up for Patricia. I'm sorry, Patrick, go ahead.
No, go ahead, sir.
Well, my question to Patricia, the written essay was measuring professionalism, leadership, organization, time management, something along the lines. What was the definition of written examination? Was it job skills? Can you repeat the definition of written exam for me from the civil service rules?
Sure. 4.20 talked about graded examination papers, or I'm sorry, 4.50.
Yes.
And then 4.20 A, and I want to make sure I'm citing to the correct rule that Mr. Ruddy is arguing about. It states a written examination may be either computerized or traditional pencil paper and may include all or part of the following: an objective type examination designed to test the applicant's familiarity with information and material which could reasonably be expected of applicants for the position, standard intelligent tests, standard aptitude tests, and an essay on one or more subjects dealing with the problems encountered within the classification. That's under 4.2A. Is that was correct, Mr. Reddy? That was the rule you were stating, correct?
Correct.
Thank you for the commission. And then 4.50, which was the establishing of the answer key and review of the examination papers, allowed for the review of graded examination papers. I'm trying to find the specific place in the.
That's what I was looking for. And before, I didn't mean to cut you off, but I think that's the disconnect there. I don't think that what was being tested in the written essay tracks with the rule and what the rule is requesting, or what the rule says a written graded essay is. I think those are two separate things. Patricia, am I right? Isn't the same as grading your measures of something that could be on the. That's the question for the commission, correct?
Exactly, and it does say that only final examination answer keys shall be used. Any applicant shall have the right to review her own graded examination papers and submit written blah blah blah. So that is exactly what is before this commission to decide. Exactly that, Mr. Patton.
Thank you.
Any further questions from the commission? Do I have a motion?
Motion to deny, Patton.
Second, sure.
It's been moved and seconded to deny the request. All in favor?
Yeah.
Flick.
Patton, aye.
Jordan, aye. The request was denied. Item 15, consideration of the request from Richard Brown to appeal the scores of the promotional examination given to the Division of Police. Is Mr. Bowman present?
Present. Division of Fire. I think you just.
Yeah. Did I say something different?
I-
Forgive me. The promotional examination given to the Division of Fire. Mr. Bowman is present. Are you speaking for yourself or do you have a representative?
I am. I'm speaking for myself.
All right, Mr.
So-
Bowman, you have a total of 10 minutes.
Sure.
You have the floor now.
Okay, so I went through my whole appeal last time. I was the one that brought up the experience credit, but before that, so we just heard from Alex from NTN. He said the prior instructions and test instructions are basically boilerplate, and that's not what we should actually go by, I guess, when testing. But even in their daily instructions for the written exam, the day of instructions, it didn't say anything about us being scored on leadership qualities, analysis and planning, customer and public relations, which would significantly impact how I would answer a question if I'm going to be scored on information or content, organization, grammar, and spelling. It's two different answers, and that's why for that I answered the way that we had been told and the way their day of instructions told us to. When we found out afterwards, we were not scored on those day of instructions. We weren't scored on our organization or grammar, spelling, or our professionalism. We found out we were scored on leadership qualities, which I'm not sure what those are in a 2-paragraph paper, or our customer public relations, which again, we were not told about any of these metrics that they were going to use to score us. All of this, and not knowing any of this information that they ended up scoring us on, it negatively impacted my score on how I ended up getting or doing on it. So I don't know where some of these dimensions came from, because I'd never seen them in any of the earlier announcements from civil service, from NTN's handout, or anything else before this date. Actually, I never heard of any of these things before I saw that I was scored on these things. From there was a lack of clarity for the examination the day of. We were told that we were going to have 13 minutes to speak about answer the questions for our tactical. And in Rule 4.30, it says that whenever definitive time limits have been set for the completion of exam, the prescribed time limit shall be made at the beginning of the exam or parts thereof. During the exercise, the instruction stated we have 13 minutes. And when we responded to the scenario, there's actually 7.5 minutes, because 5.5 of those minutes were taken up by announcements and updates. So we didn't actually have 13 minutes to respond. We ended up having 7.5 minutes. And again, this negatively impacted my score, because I was assuming that I was going to have 13 minutes or at least that much time afterwards to round out what I had to say. Because again, we were told that we had 13 minutes when we didn't have 13 minutes. I brought up last time about experience credit. And I received and that's 44D for training experience. I have received a letter in here from civil service that states that due to 44B, the passing grade being waived, I suppose it says that also that 44D is not applicable. I don't understand how 44D is not applicable simply because 44D or 44B, the passing grade was waived. And that's, I guess that's what I have for now.
Pastor Jordan, this is Patty. I'll just address the last point on that, which is
Okay.
the applicable and the waived rules, and all of the and the commission and all of the applicants were provided with the bulletins to demonstrate, which we did not have at the last time. Otherwise, we could have addressed this then. But at the time of the bulletin posting of the exam, it was stated that the rules, the waiver of the rules, so 4.40B, the passing grade of 70% was waived at the time of this testing, and that it was the applicable rules were specifically stated, and so the seniority credit and the weights of the sections were the applicable rules, and it was not 4.40D, the training and experience, which would go into the 70% rule, was not used. It was not an applicable rule.
Okay. All right, thank you. Alex, do you have anything that you'd like to comment on Mr. Bowman's statements?
Yes. So all candidates were given the same information in the candidate handout, which didn't create a unique or unfair disadvantage for the candidate. This handout was provided and approved by Cleveland Civil Service. In terms of the tactical exercise specifically that was brought up in the candidate instructions, it states that the scenario will last approximately 13 minutes and is divided into 4 segments, each with a response period and an on-screen countdown timer indicating the time you have remaining. You will be instructed by the video narrator when to begin your response for each segment. During your oral responses to the assessor panel, or direct your oral responses to the assessor panel. After your allotted time, you will hear a ding sound signaling the next segment with updated incident information. Stop speaking once your response time has ended, as the video will automatically advance. And
right. So around 13 minutes to respond, correct?
No, the scenario will last 13 minutes.
So a fair bit of confusion in the writing. Got it.
Mr. Bowman, do you have anything further to add?
Yeah, so in the battalion chief announcement, so the applicable rules, so you're saying that the 44D is not applicable because it was not one of the 2 applicable rules that were in the announcement? Ms. Aston?
My answer stands. It was not the passing rule. I'm sorry, 4.40B passing grade was waived, and it was not an applicable rule.
It was not applicable because that one was waived. Okay.
All right.
Yes, no, I have nothing further.
Thank you, sir. Do I have a motion from the commission?
Motion to deny the request, Flickinger.
Second, Patton. Second.
It's been moved and seconded to deny the request. All in favor?
Lee, aye.
Flickinger, aye.
Patton, aye.
Jordan, aye. That request was denied. Item 16, consideration of the request from Patrick Corrigan to appeal the scores of the promotional examination given to the Division of Fire. Is Mr. Corrigan here?
I am here. Good morning.
Good morning, sir. Do I need to go over the rules, or do you understand them?
No, I understand the 10 minutes, and I'm speaking on my behalf.
All right, sir. You have the floor.
Okay, I'm going to bring up some past and continuously made mistakes with this whole testing process. that questions the accuracy, the reliability, and validity of the test. I'm just asking for, at a minimum, an independent investigation auditor to review the entire testing process. All right. During my situational interview, my assessor panel was changed. The assessors told me, I was brought to a room. The assessors told me to leave the room. I finally had to search for the escort who took me to the room. Finally, after I searched for him, I found him. He brought me back and he said to the assessors, yeah, you're going to assess him. And one of the assessors stated, it would be nice if you told us when a change is made. We don't have his ID number. Now, on one of the the grading sheets that I went and saw, my ID number was crossed out and written over. And one, I'd like to request a copy of that sheet. Also, I requested statements from the 3 assessors that did my situational interview, and I don't know if they've been contacted or not. So I guess that's my question.
Is that a question? That's the question.
Yeah, please. I'm sorry. Yeah, that's my question. If they were contacted to provide a statement of, that they didn't have my ID number, or what they said, what I heard them say, at least one assessor say.
I just want to, for my clarification, when you went and looked at your paper, did it have the correct ID number on it?
It was, an ID number was crossed out, and then my ID number was written over it.
Okay, so are you assuming then that the paper wasn't the one that you did?
No, this backs up what happened, that when I was brought to that room, they did not have my ID number.
Okay.
They stated that they did not. And it was changed. My assessor panel was changed.
Pastor Jordan, this is Patty. Mr. Corrigan, the one that's crossed out, are you referring to the one that the last number was changed and then is initialed by, it appears, the assessor's initials? You mean that one?
Correct.
Okay.
Yes, I'd like to get a copy of that,
Pastor
please.
Jordan, in the packet, there's one that 3030, correct, Mr. Corrigan? That's your number? Was your number? And so, Pastor Jordan, one of the pages, the initials, and they're scribbled, so it looks like it's SN. S as in Sam, N as in Norman, M as in Mary. Looks like there's initials on the assessor initials and the same initials next to the last digit that was made into a 0. That's what you're talking about, Mr. Corrigan?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. I just want to clarify, since it's not up on the screen, but the commission has had those and reviewed. Thank you.
Okay. So, Mr. Corrigan, I want to make sure we present your request correctly. You want a copy of those papers?
Of that paper, correct. And I requested in writing that those 3 assessors during my situational interview provide a statement of what they believe happened when they told me to leave the room, when I was brought back and they said to the escort that brought me there, if you make a change, it'd be nice if you told us. We don't have his ID number. And they weren't ready to even assess me. So I like a statement from them.
Anyone from the Civil Service Office or Alex would like to speak to this?
Well, this is Patty. As to the providing of the paper, no individual is given any of their papers. They have the right to review them, not to get copies. This commission, of course, can waive those rules and allow for that. It appears that's what he's asking for. But no one has ever provided with the exact copy. I believe the commission member, the staff can say they couldn't take phones in to take pictures or anything like that. It is kept so nobody gets a copy so that it's clear across the board for everybody. Thank you, Pastor Jordan.
Thank you, Patricia. Anyone want to speak to the assessors being interviewed?
We have not reached out to the assessors at this point because we do not feel that it has been warranted. And I'm happy to respond more fully to that after the protest, your perspective has been shared.
All right, Mr. Corrigan, you have anything further?
Yeah, absolutely. So I was sent multiple mailings to my name and address with different ID numbers, different scores, and different rankings. I was finally sent a paper or email that said, this is the correct one. I apologize for the mistakes and no more mistakes will be made. This is just an example of if the mistake was made here for my mailings, the mistake could have made anywhere in the testing process. Again, I brought up the fact that there was 3 Corrigans who took the battalion chief test and another Patrick T. Corrigan, who was a lieutenant, who also took a lieutenant's test, which there's been mix-ups in that, which I'll address in a minute here. But as far as there definitely has been, we have the letters that were sent with the mix-ups. So my question is, if that was a mistake, there's probably more mistakes.
So if I may, point of clarification, those were clerical errors from our administrative staff. We're not perfect. People make clerical errors. The clerical error in the 3 Corrigans, or however many there were, had nothing to do with NTN and the test. They forwarded the information and the scores, and we sent it out. So, I believe we addressed that previously. And I believe Leanne sent out the corrected letters. But again, we do acknowledge that we made a mistake and the mistake was corrected, but that had nothing to do with the scores from NTN. It was a clerical error on the 3 names and the addresses.
Thank you, Rashawn. Mr. Corrigan.
Yeah, I appreciate that, and I appreciate the your job in general, and I would not want to do it. Since there has been clerical errors, that's why I'm asking for an independent investigation or an auditor just to review the entire testing process. Because if there's some, there could be more. Now, back to the other Patrick T. Corrigan who took the lieutenant's test. He did not put in any appeals. I've been not getting any notifications of from my appeals to go to any of these meetings. The reason is the mailings has been sent to the Patrick T. Corrigan that lives in Olmsted Falls, and I live in Cleveland. And that Patrick T. Corrigan did not even make any appeals. He received letters, and only because he contacted me to let me know that this had to be another mistake. So my point is, mistakes are still being made. Even after when I went to civil service to review my papers, I told them specifically the problems that the mistakes been made and to be careful of them. And it's still being made. So, and I received written apologies and assurances that no more mistakes were made, and now another mistake has been made. So again, it goes back to why I'm asking for a independent investigation and auditor to review the test.
Are there any responses from civil service or on that particular issue?
My position is as I stated, those are clerical errors. They have no bearing on the results from NTN.
Thank you. Mr. Corrigan, anything further?
Yeah, so I will agree to disagree on that then. As far as the notes that were destroyed at one of the, I think 2 meetings ago, I believe in May, civil service talked to asked NTN if candidates received their notes. And we were told at that time that the candidates' notes were destroyed and also the assessor's notes were destroyed. I understand the candidates' notes not being used for grading, but the assessor notes were certainly used for grading. And I don't know if civil service was aware that they were going to destroy them. Was it part of the agreement? Was it in a contract? My question is, why were the assessor notes destroyed? Because they were certainly used for grading.
Patricia, is this something we've already addressed?
Yes, I was just going to, thank you, Pastor Jordan. The contract is public record. They could have received the contract. They've previously testified to it, and it's part of the public record, and you have addressed it previously. Thank you.
Thank you. So we've addressed that issue, Mr. Corrigan. Do you have any further new items that you want to present?
Yes, absolutely. As far as questions about how the assessors were trained, if there was any critical failures, can we be told about, for example, the tactical, the situational interview? What was the best response so everyone could learn from it? Could any of those questions be answered?
Alex?
You'll have to clarify for me what you mean by could those be provided. None of the exercises were recorded, and there would be no way to provide those to anyone, and we would not provide another person's responses to other candidates.
This is Patty. Pastor Jordan. In fact, the rule prohibits that. They are not, even if they did exist, the rule prohibits other candidates without this commission unanimously allowing for it.
Thank you. Mr. Corrigan?
No, thanks. I wasn't asking for what was the highest score, but what from the testing company. All right, with the tactical, this is the best response, and this is what we use to grade other people by. That's what I'm asking for. If the testing company has a best response.
Well,
So
if you're talking, sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead, Alex.
Well, this is something that we've already addressed here, that if you're speaking about the scoring indicators, that is confidential test information and is not provided to candidates.
Okay.
No, I'm thinking I have no more questions.
Thank you, sir. Are there any questions from the commission? Do I have a motion?
Motion to deny the request, Flickinger.
Secondly.
It's been moved and seconded to deny the request. All in favor?
Lee, aye.
Flickinger, aye.
Patton, aye.
Jordan, aye. That request was denied. Item 17, consideration of the request from Andrew Gorski to appeal the scores of the promotional examination given to the Division of Fire. Is Mr. Gorski present?
I am.
Are you going to be speaking for yourself, or do you have a representative?
I'll be speaking for myself.
The same rules are applicable. You have a total of 10 minutes. All right, Mr. Gorski, you have the floor.
Okay, we only have 10 minutes, so I'll be focusing on just one or two issues, but here's an overview of how the validity of this test was compromised. There was an overall lack of transparency and clarity that compromises a candidate's expectation and understanding of how it will be graded. There was misinformation in both the preparatory guide and the directions in the day of the test that led to a high level of confusion. This included timeframes, clear directions on when candidates could start talking, and what dimensions assessors were grading candidates on. The testing company, they either changed the dimensions completely or they didn't provide them in the directions and the preparatory guide. That changes the validity and reliability of the test. This test failed in the most basic task of assessing one's knowledge of the reference material that we studied. There was a lack of clear and consistent scoring criteria that correlated to the reference material. I myself had unanswered questions on the day of the test. I was continually told, oh, the next room will answer that question. Nobody ever answered the question. Professional standards and best practices were absolutely not adhered to on this test. I have a lot of questions, so I'll get right to it. This would be for NTN. You're familiar, obviously, with the word dimensions. I'd like to see if you could explain that to the commission. What is a dimension?
Pastor Jordan, this is Patty. Unless Alex can answer that, can you clarify in what context you're talking about?
Sure. Dimensions are basically how something, what they're grading it on. So the dimensions that they graded are written were officially leadership qualities, analysis and planning, customer and public relations, and written communication. So I think Alex just kind of explains to the commission what dimensions are.
Yeah, in the world of test development, dimensions are kind of a group or a cluster of a bunch of different facets that are grouped under one heading, such as leadership skills, as you brought up. And each of these dimensions are measured in different exercises throughout the assessment center. And these dimensions that we work with have been identified to be predictive of on-the-job performance for firefighters. And so that is what they are.
So did you guys change the dimensions completely? Or did you never fully give candidates the dimensions we were being rated on?
I don't know what you mean by changing them. These have been are the standard dimensions that we work with. It's a part of our internal model. And so I don't know, like nothing has been changed about those. Again, as we've talked about already, the candidate handout is a general guideline that is provided. The language in there is that the exercise will be graded based on several areas, including but not limited to content, organization, grammar, spelling, and professionalism. And so all of those dimensions are a part of what you would be evaluated on in the content of the exercise.
Okay. Well, I want the commission to know it's a testing standard and a best practice to give candidates the dimensions and scoring rubric ahead of the test. Excuse me, I'm at work.
Location 2044 random, take vision 10, ladder 30 and battalion 5. They're privately armed commercial at that location.
If you just excuse me 1 second.
Privately armed location 2044 random, take engine.
Pastor Jordan, I think this is inappropriate.
Privately armed commercial at that location, coming to acknowledge.
Mr. Gorski.
It's sorry, it was only going to take 10 seconds. Didn't want it to interrupt my speaking. So again, it's a testing standard and best practice to give candidates the dimensions and the scoring rubric ahead of the test. In other words, you're supposed to provide candidates with how they're being scored and what they're being scored on. This prevents any type of confusion. This is for NTN. Was there any other scoring criteria given to the assessors other than the grading sheet that we've been shown?
Yes, we've discussed this, that all the raters were provided scoring criteria with which they assessed candidates.
2044.
Mr. Gorski, we need that noise in the back to stop. But
Yeah, I'm sorry. If it goes on again, I'll hit mute.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, so checklists were not used at all in the scoring criteria to ensure a standardized evaluation, correct?
What do you mean by checklists?
So checklists that would specifically be tied to the reference material. So in other words, the scoring sheet that we were provided was very general. It was basically needs poor, needs improvement, satisfactory, good, excellent, with a corresponding number. A checklist, which is again a best practice and a standard among most testing companies, would have these things correlating to the reference material.
Where are you? I'm a bit confused on the Oh, I see what you're talking about. I apologize on the needs improvement, acceptable, and all that. So we assessors all go through a full training in order to standardize their rating process. They are provided with a scoring indicators that were approved as a part of the development process that were used by all of the assessor panels for each exercise. And every candidate was assessed against those scoring criteria. As we've said previously, the scoring criteria that is confidential test information and is not provided to candidates, but absolutely that is a key part of why we do the assessor training and how the assessors rate candidates.
Okay, so you know, the biggest and best promotional testing companies out there, they use checklists for the assessors. I've been an assessor before. They have checklists. Those checklists correspond to the standard operating procedures for those departments. You know, what training was, how long did the training last for the assessors?
Approximately 2.5 hours.
And you said in the past that they were given our SOPs and general orders?
Yes, for the exercises for which they were relevant.
Okay. Were they given examples of poor or excellent tactical presentations and everything in between?
What do you mean by that?
How do they know what was a good presentation and what was a poor presentation?
That's what the scoring indicators are for.
What do the scoring indicators correlate to? You said that was private?
Yes, the scoring criteria is confidential test information.
During or after the first day of testing, did any assessors come to NTN or civil service with concerns that candidates seemed confused about the format or the times given during the assessment?
Not to my knowledge.
Civil service?
We have received no complaints of that nature.
So how did the scoring sheet that we saw correlate specifically to the study reference material? In other words, did the scoring sheets reflect what our SOPs and general orders state for the scenarios that were presented?
Yes.
How? How did they correlate to our SOPs? What on the scoring sheet correlates to it?
On the rating forms that you have been provided, I mean, I understand they are used to develop the scoring criteria. But I don't know that I totally understand when you say correlated. It's the scoring criteria for each of the exercises is based on the SOPs that your department has provided.
I guess my question and concern is it doesn't seem like the reference material was used in any way to determine how a candidate was measured in this test. According to the scoring criteria.
Jordan he's asked and answered. He may not like the answer, but these have been asked and answered.
Thank you, Patricia.
All right, given the grading criteria that was used, it constitutes an invalid assessment. The scoring sheet was given to assessors not only is completely subjective, but it didn't measure and ensure a candidate had a handle on the reference material because it didn't use the reference material to begin with. The Cleveland Fire Department has outlined specific responsibilities that must be completed by each rank at emergency scenes. These are SOPs. Without a good understanding of our SOPs, which would be different from their own, it leaves the assessors with nothing to grade on other than feelings. It's a testing standard and best practice for a testing company to use a checkoff list that correlates to the reference material, which in this case is Cleveland Fire's SOPs. To the commission.
Mr.
Yes,
Gorski,
sir. Yes, sir.
can you state for us where you're telling us this is the standard practice for the industry? Could you state where you're getting this information from, so for the record, so we can?
Yes, I can. There is a standard for educational and psychological testing. That would be the American Educational Research Association, the American Psychological Association, and the National Council for Measurement in Education. While the standards for education and educational and psychological testing by those associations may not explicitly mention the checklists for tactical assessments, because obviously it covers a whole host of things, they support the principle of using structured and systematic scoring systems. Checklists align with these principles by promoting validity, reliability, fairness, and transparency in the assessment process. The test didn't use a systematic way for assessors to measure a candidate's knowledge of the reference material. That's very, very important, the reference material. To the commission, did you, along with Chief Anthony Luke, approve the reference material list?
Rashawn?
Chief Luke did not approve the reference materials. I did.
Got it. Was the intention and purpose of the exam to test a candidate's knowledge of those specific reference materials?
So what I will say is that we wanted to ensure that there was a fair and unbiased test fire promotion administered, and we contracted with NTN. So, I can't answer your questions any further. This is my position. That's what we contracted the company for. That was their job. We provided them with the reference material, and then they built the promotion with the information that was provided to them.
This is Patty, and to one step further on that, Pastor Jordan, to Rashawn, was the reference material were the candidates notified in advance of the test of the reference material that was chosen and used?
Absolutely, we were.
Okay, well, he answered that. Thank you.
Yeah, that's not in contention here. In the commission's opinion, would a test be valid if it didn't reliably test a candidate's knowledge of that reference material?
I'm going to object to that. The commission acts as a body, and the commission is here to hear your appeal. So I'm going to object to that.
Thank you.
Copy. So insufficient training and lack of proper scoring criteria was systemic. This is why the best practice for testing companies suggests the use of checkoff sheets, which have been used in the prior 3 tests, by the way, which we were able to see. Checkoff sheets ensure a test is consistent, objective, transparent, comprehensive. It also ensures the knowledge of the reference material. Given the fact that the lack of insufficient training, in my opinion, in addition to the proper scoring sheets was systemic, I would appeal to the commission that the whole test lacks the validity, transparency, and reliability needed to promote.
You have
There's
1
no
minute left. Okay. You have 1 minute.
I'll hit the preparatory guide. So I did send the preparatory guide from a previous test from 2017, which is the most recent, to the commission. I would ask the commission to compare these 2 preparatory guides. There were clear and distinct problems with NTN's preparatory guide. 2 biggest functions of a preparatory guide are to prepare a candidate by clearly describing the testing format and describing what assessors are grading you on. NTN's did not do that. E.B. Jacobs was the prior testing company. There is no comparison as far as a preparatory guide, how clear theirs is. A candidate has exactly the understanding of times, what is expected to do well on this test. With the amount of confusion and questions that the commission received from the candidates, and I was one of them that called, it should have raised some red flags. This preparatory document was.
All right, Mr. Gorski, your time, that's your 10 minutes, sir.
I've got 8:12 on my watch.
I've been using a stopwatch and you have 10 minutes.
Can I give one small final statement, sir?
You have used your 10 minutes. And I
Copy.
appreciate that. Are there any questions from the commission to Mr. Gorski? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to deny the request.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to deny the request. All in favor?
Lee, aye.
Flickinger, aye.
Aye.
Jordan, aye. That request was denied. Item 18, consideration of the request from Francis Lally to appeal the scores of the promotional examination given to the Division of Fire. Francis
Good morning,
Lally.
Pastor. Yes, I'm here. I will be speaking for myself, and I understand I have 10 minutes.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you for your time, everybody. I know this has been dragging on for quite a few sessions already, but I would ask that you give due consideration to my information here that I'm going to present this morning. First of all, since I only have 10 minutes, I'm going to get right into it. I take exception with having to sign a non-disclosure agreement in order to take the civil service examination. There's nowhere in the rules of civil service that provides for having to sign a non-disclosure agreement prior to taking a civil service test. It was not in the announcements. I was not given the opportunity to have it reviewed by legal counsel. It was not able to be negotiated by legal counsel. I was not even provided a copy of the non-disclosure agreement. So I would ask that not only my non-disclosure agreement, but all non-disclosure agreements that we were forced to sign in violation of civil service rules be tossed out and null and void from this point forward. In addition to that, I'm going to go right down to the test announcements as it was promulgated by the Civil Service Commission and published on November 3rd, 2023, and approved in the meeting minutes of 10/27/2023. So if we start out with, it's very important that the examination be announced. It's right in the Civil Service Rules, 4.1 examination analysis. It says in there that it shall contain, among other things, minimum entrance qualifications, statements of duties of the classification, and the type of the examination that will be administered. And that's very important because the type of examination is not just willy-nilly, whatever we decide to give or whatever the testing company decides to give. It has to be it has to comport with Civil Service Rules 4.2 A through F. And it says right in there in 4.2, assembled upon competitive and promotional examinations shall consist of one or more of the types set forth in Rules 4.2A through 4.2F. Clearly, the written examination portion of the examination comports, but the tactical exercise and the situational interview exercise does not comport with Civil Service Rules 4.2A through F. It clearly states in there what those rules are, and it clearly states that that has to be in the announcement of which of these examinations are going to be promulgated. Then, once that is set forth, when you're going through Civil Service Rules 4.2 A through F, then you come to how those tests, Civil Service Rules also outlines how those tests are then, once they're decided on which test will be given, how they're to be conducted in section 4.3, conducting of examinations. It clearly says A through F in here of how those examinations are to be conducted. And it says right there in 4.3, the last sentence, the individual types of examinations shall be conducted in accordance with the provisions of Rules 4.3A through 4.3F. And clearly that's not the case. I think we heard from NTN earlier today, in fact, that the test was developed after the announcement was made, which that's a clear violation of the Civil Service Rules, nor does it comport with the Civil Service Rules. Continuing on with 4.4B, the passing grade. Now, I understand the commission has addressed this earlier, that the 4.4B, the passing grade was waived, and that is consistent with the job, in the announcements. However, it doesn't necessarily waive that section. It more or less implements that section, allowing the Civil Service Commission, and I'll read it right from the test announcement, waiver of rules, 4.4B, passing grade. The waiver of this rule will allow the Civil Service Commission to set the minimum passing score based on acceptable testing criteria, not do away with the minimum passing score. So in that sense, I believe that the Civil Service Commission needed to, or still needs to, set the minimum passing score. And then once they do that, then 4.4, I believe it was 4.4 D, as that we were discussing earlier. Yes, training and experience would be applicable at that point in time. As we continue on with these, we get to the section on weights. So the testing company, civil service rules provide for, and the test announcement outlines 4.4A, the weights. The overall process of weights. It says the written exam shall be 40%. The assessment center, if you're going to allow this to stand, the assessment center is going to be 60%. And then it says the assessment center exercise weights, they split that up further into 60% and 40%. But what it does not do, and what civil service rules do not allow for, is the further dissecting of those scores to individual questions. So if you look at what was provided to us from the Civil Service Commission and NTN, that they further go through and weight the individual questions on the assessments. There's nothing in the Civil Service Commission that provides for that. There's nothing in the test announcement that provides for them to allow the individual weighting of individual questions. So in that sense, that portion of it needs to be reworked, and it needs to be rescored as a 60% and 40% as a whole, not individually, individual questions being weighted separately. That's a clear violation of civil service rules. As we continue on with this, we have the seniority credit seems to be applicable, and it was done according to civil service rules. There's no question there. The 4.4D, I think I addressed this earlier, but once the Civil Service Commission decides on the passing grade of 4.4B, then 4.4D would be applicable. And it may not be the continued 30%, but it might be 10% or 15%, depending on how they decided that, because that rule was not waived in its entirety. It was giving the commission the ability to set the minimum passing score. We continue on here. We have training experience. On to establishing the answer key 4.5. I think we beat this to death already. But 4.5, as civil service rules is written, was not followed, nor was it followed as it was promulgated in the test announcement. It was supposed to be done the day of the test. NTN was not prepared to do it the day of the test. There was about 100 test takers that were waiting for that opportunity to address it. I was one of those. We were not given the opportunity at that point in time, as announced in the testing requirement. I still have not seen my written scores. And I'm going to get to this in a minute, because it's very important. I was not able to address what I believe are some violations of that as well. We have the establishment of a list. In the civil service announcement, it says 5.2, the establishment of the list. And then it has, basically it overwrites, if we're to take this document as promulgated, it overwrites 5.2, overwrites the section 5.2 that is the duration of the eligible list. So 5.2 needs to be, it basically violates Civil Service Rule 5.2, and it should have been 5.1, establishment of eligible list. So,
Mr. Lally,
yes,
you have 2 minutes left.
I'm trying to hustle here. Let me get through. I'm gonna have to get to the end here with 5.1, the establishment of the list, the duration of the list. So on the civil service announcement, we have for my own particular, on the situational and the tactical review sheet that I was shown, my scores were treated differently than everybody else's. And what I mean by that is on the tactical side of things, it was scored. I took the examination on the 23rd of February 23rd, and 2 of the scores were scored on the 23rd. The third assessor scored it on the 24th, and then somebody wrote over a 3. So you think, okay, maybe that's just a clerical error. He made a mistake. But then if you look at the situational interview or the situational component of it, 2 of my scores were scored on the 23rd, and the third was scored on the 27th of February, 4 days later. So I believe that this is a clear violation of my rights under civil service rules that have that were not comported with everybody else who was supposed to be scored on the same day in that 10-minute period prior between test assessments. So I believe that that's a violation. I also believe that if you look at the civil service rules as promulgated in the assessment, it says clearly on the very last page here, it enumerates different sections here. And it clearly says under the enumerated numeral 5 on the civil service announcements, candidates will be responsible for CFD's internal reference sources, including the general orders, SOPs, CFD manual rules, and the City of Cleveland medical protocols. The City of Cleveland, it highlights it, enumerates it, that this is going to be something that we need to be responsible for. And no questions were promulgated from the City of Cleveland's medical
Mr. Lally?
protocols. Yes.
That is your time.
Well, what I'm asking for, Pastor, is that
Mr. Lally, that is your time. You had 10 minutes, and that is 10 minutes. Thank you, sir. Are there any responses from civil service or NTN? Seeing none, are there any questions from the commission? Have a motion from the commission.
Motion to deny the request, Flickinger.
Second, Patton.
It's been moved and seconded to deny the request. All in favor?
Lee, aye.
Flickinger, aye.
Patton, aye.
Jordan, aye. That request was denied. Item 19, consideration of the request from Pete Kalvakis. I hope I got it close at least, to appeal the scores of the promotional examination given to the Division of Fire.
Good morning, Pastor. This is Leanne. He withdrew his work yesterday as well.
Thank you, Leanne.
Thank you.
I'm going to go to the rest of the items, and then we'll come back and go over the people that were not here. Item 20, rejection of applications, 5-day, no appeal for the classifications of airport safety supervisor open, property maintenance inspector 1 open, senior chemist open, sewer service worker, painter open, plumber unit leader open, water hydraulic repair worker, water pipe repairman open.
Motion to approve, Flickinger.
Second, Patton.
Been moved and seconded to approve the list. All in favor?
Lee, aye.
Flickinger, aye.
Patton, aye.
Gordon, aye. That motion was approved. Item 21, approval of the final eligible list for the classifications of airport safety supervisor open, property maintenance inspector 1 open, senior chemist open, sewer service worker, painter open, plumber unit leader open, water pipe repairman open.
Motion to approve, Flickinger.
Secondly,
Been moved and seconded to approve the list. All in favor?
Lee, aye.
Flickinger, aye.
Aye.
Jordan, aye. That motion was approved. Item 22, consideration of the following bulletins. Asphalt tamper, open. Construction equipment operator, Group B, open. Legal secretary, open. Plumber unit leader, open. Welder fabricator, open.
Motion to approve, Flickinger.
Secondly,
It's been moved and seconded to approve the list. All in favor?
Lee, aye.
Flickinger, aye.
Patton, aye.
Jordan, aye. And that list was approved. Going back to our request, Leanne, did you keep a list of the people that weren't here? Or, I can't remember.
Yes, I did.
Okay, could you give me the first one?
Yes. Connor Leahy.
Do I have a motion on Mr. Connor Leahy's request?
Motion to deny the request.
Second, Flickinger.
It's been moved and seconded to deny the request of Mr. Connor Leahy. All in favor?
Lee, aye.
Flickinger, aye.
Patton, aye.
Jordan, aye. That request was denied. Leanne, what's the next one?
Item 12, David Hubbard.
Item 12, the request from David Hubbard. Do I have a motion on his?
Motion to deny the request, Flickinger.
Second, Patton.
It's been moved and seconded to deny the request. All in favor?
Lee, aye.
Flickinger, aye.
Patton, aye.
Jordan, aye. That request was denied. Leanne.
And item 13, Matthew Locklear.
Do I have a motion on item 13 concerning Matthew Locklear?
Motion to deny the request.
Second, Flickinger.
It's been moved and seconded to deny the request. All in favor?
Lee, aye.
Flickinger, aye.
Patton, aye.
And that's all I have.
Jordan, aye. That request was denied, and I believe that is all the business to come before this commission on today. So we stand adjourned. Daryl, let me know when we're not recording.
Okay, just a
Give me
moment.
just one moment.
And
This
Pastor,
meeting
this
of
is
this-
Patty. I reached out to you. I want to make sure you received my message.
Was it an email?
There was an email, but I also called your number. So I didn't know if I had the correct number, but I did reach out to you. You had